Well, hello there, nerds. It's time to take a look at the, Book 2 movie because a lot of people were asking, Sages, what's going on? Well, anyways, so we've kind of gotten to know what some of these characters are and how they're going to or at least how we assume they're going to play in Book 2. And if, who knows, maybe they'll become, a character you can get. Veronica, no, I'm kidding. Anyways, so I'm also going to sprinkle in some mythology because obviously a lot of what Heroes has is based on Norse mythology. Just so you know. Yeah, we'll get into that, but let's just take a look. There's been leaks, with artists kind of coming forward, showing off a lot of things, and well, why not? Anyways, let's go. So, the one thing to note here when it comes to Fjorm, who is our newly designated waifu, I guess, for a lot of people, is Fjorm is technically one of several rivers in Norse mythology known as the Ice Waves, which kind of makes sense as, well, at least the loosely translated form would be Ice Waves. And, that makes sense. Fjorm is the Princess of Ice, and, well, she's going to be something interesting to see in the future. But that's just a little bit of backstory behind her. And, considering the fact Ice Princess from Ice Kingdom has ice-based abilities, it kind of makes sense. Now, as for everything else here, well, we're going to have to just take a look. Especially, well, oh boy, that one on the left side. One thing to note, Anna is missing here, but then again, I don't think they want to put focus on Anna because Anna would probably be more worried about profit margins. Alright, so, this right here, according to her actual translation, is Levitain, and Levitain is, or Levitine, whichever you prefer when it comes to characters in this, is a weapon that came from Norse mythology. That's pretty much the simplest form I can put it. It was not in the original manuscripts, kind of added later, and then maybe possibly another name for a weapon as well. But Levitain is her name, and there's a bit of her art right there. Nothing too interesting with her there because, well, we can't really tell you what's going on. And then again, Hero stories just kind of anyways, but you never know, maybe you'll get to use the Flaming Swords woman there, and she at least looks interesting in some ways, right? Right? Anyways. Alrighty, so that's Levitain, but the more interesting character is actually what's about to come, because, well, yeah. Because this right here, oh my god, I can't believe I have to say it. Let's just, yeah, that is... that is something. So, this apparently is a character that's been in the game already and has popped up numerous times. This, of course, is Loki. And as you can see, they really do like showing off her boobs. I'm just gonna say, those are awfully large. Horrendously large in some ways. I don't really enjoy that design. It's just, I understand that you want to maybe throw in a bit of fan service here, but holy Christ, those things can kill. Loki's been in the game for a little while now. She, I guess, has been masquerading as several characters. She's mentioned her king several times and how she's going to be building a rainbow bridge to bring in the king to Asgard. Or at least, And obviously, well, we know who her king is now, and considering the fact that she's a shapeshifter, it kind of makes sense. And by the looks of it, a staff user, or possibly a spear user. I'm not too certain as to what that is. It looks like a staff to me, so I'm gonna go staff. And well, or maybe even an axe, actually. Now that I think about it, it might actually be an axe as well. Hard to tell. Hard to tell. But still, nonetheless, when it comes to Loki, she's been in the game for a while now, and considering the fact how big her boobs are and how she said that she liked masquerading as Anna, I'm pretty much considering the fact that maybe it's because at least that way she doesn't have back pains. I'm not too certain. But, Loki's been a character in Norse mythology and in a lot of other media, but considering the fact that she's been shapeshifting and doing a lot of weird things, it kind of makes sense because Loki's kind of a odd character in Norse mythology in every way. Just to give you an example, Loki, I'm not sure if you've played Final Fantasy or anything, and or seen any of that kind of mythology when it comes to Odin. Odin typically has a horse by the name of Sleipnir. Just to give you an example of how crazy Loki is, Loki birthed that horse. Yeah, he transformed into a female horse, ended up giving birth to that horse that that Odin would eventually ride. Yeah, that gives you an idea of how crazy Loki was in his mythology. I'm, of course, summarizing this and kind of making it as compact as possible to give you an idea of how insane that is, but yeah, that was that's Norse mythology kind of in a nutshell. There was a lot of craziness with Loki. There's also other things like when I forget if she's the frost goddess or one of the relatives of the frost giants, Scotty, she came to get revenge on the gods, and eventually, for the death of her father, and Loki cheered her up by having a tug of war with a goat via attaching it to his groin area. That just gives you an idea of what Loki's all about. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of Norse mythology going on there. Alright, let's move on. So, there's Veronica. I mean, that really doesn't need any explanation. I'm hoping that eventually we'll get to use her. But what really matters here is when it comes to subtext, I guess, and, the kind of parallels. This right here is Surtur. And, of course, Surtur is a fire Jotun from Norse mythology. He's the king that I'm sure Loki has been talking about, obviously. There's no real surprise there. And Surtur is a pretty big player in Norse mythology. He is one of the key figures in Ragnarok, and basically, he's a fire Jotun, and towards the end, well, I wouldn't say towards the end, but during Ragnarok, he's supposed to bring him and his flaming sword that he often carries and engulf the earth in flame. That's the general summary of that one. And it kind of makes sense considering that, well, Fjorm is this ice princess, that our good old fire giant here would be the opposite, so of course they went with Surtur, who typically is the embodiment of flame that comes with that, and it seems that he will be the one to usher this in, and he just kind of looks like a... I don't know why, but every sort of big king villain always kind of has this kind of appearance, and I don't know why. Is this supposed to... I mean, I'm getting a little bit complainy here, but just kind of feels like it's kind of samey to what they usually do, but whatever. Guess I'm just gonna have to live with it. Anyways. And of course, Fjorm is there and going to be a pretty key player. But it's really weird to see such a, we have a river from Norse mythology against an actual bringer of Ragnarok in some ways. Or at least a contributor to Ragnarok. But, that's just how this is. But I really find it fascinating how Heroes has tried to pull so much from Norse mythology, even the smallest things, and making it as complex as it can. It's just a shame that the story in Heroes tends to be really, really lackluster. Maybe with Book 2 that'll become something a lot bigger, but yeah. That was just a brief overview of what was in there, what's been kind of going on, and where these characters are from, and where their mythology comes from as well. I figured that would be a little bit more interesting than just being like, hey guys, there's Boob Witch. Boob Witch with an axe, staff, spear, I'm not too sure what that is. But yeah, I mean, it's a very perplexing one with Levitain, and then eventually, of course, Loki, but, It makes sense that they would have these characters, but good lord, that is just terrible. God. I don't really understand people. I really don't understand. At least Levitain looks a little bit, or Levitine, whichever one you prefer, actually looks somewhat interesting. I looked at the looked at the notes for these characters, and Leotain apparently is supposed to look like a raven that brings death, which kind of makes sense in a way. But yeah, that's your little bit of mythology, guys. What's been going on and what's probably going to be, coming. So we know Loki's been in the game for a while. It kind of makes sense that we'd see her in her true form. So yeah, that's about it, guys. That's all the drops I got. So see you later, nerds. Oh, and before I go, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like. And hey, if you also enjoy these videos that I do, why not subscribe? I do quite a bit more, and I'm working my way towards 100,000 subscribers. Yay! I'm gonna go puke.